Hello, welcome to Crafty at Home Cafe. My name is Meg Miller and I'm an Adult Services Librarian here at Pflugerville Public Library. For today's craft, the first 40 people who were able to pick up material supply bags will receive the cutest little bag this month. This craft will be a lot of fun, but the supplies don't take up much space. And today we're going to be doing air dry clay pinch pots. So really what you'll get, of course, is the clay itself. This is just under around 9 ounces of air dry clay. We are providing a piece of parchment paper that you can work with the clay on so it doesn't stick. We actually have these embossing tools that will help us add some designs. Something a little bit lower tech for designing that we are including is some toothpicks and a little toothpick fork that we picked up at the Dollar Tree. There will be paints in your kit. We are going through some of the supplies we have left over from earlier crafts over the summer, so you'll get some purple, teal, and pink, a black and a white, and then the one bonus color I did get for this one is gold, in case you want to add some gold accents. And then we're also providing a couple of paint brushes that you'll be able to use to decorate your pinch pot once it has dried. So let's get all our supplies together and get crafting. Alright, so we've got all of our supplies for our air dry clay. I'm just kind of working it while it's in the bag here a little bit. So I've got one kind of big lump. I'll take my embossing tool out of the package. So I have that ready. And I've got my parchment paper down so that I can use that to make sure I don't stick to the table surface I'm working on and to allow it to dry. So I've just got my big hunk here. If you've got something like a rolling pin that you can use to flatten out what you've got, you can do that. You get kind of a flat surface, but this is actually really a pinch pot, so I'm actually going to take about half of it and get myself into a ball, throw it between hands, really kind of work it together. And so for this one, I think I'm going to do something pretty similar to my example. I'm just going to make a center with my thumb, and then I really am just pinching around the sides, pushing down with my thumbs at the same time to get my bowl shape here. And something like this, I've got a few different things around that I keep, spare earrings in. I'm kind of pushing down to give it a flat bottom for standing. Pinch my edges so they're a little bit more uniform. And because this is something you're doing freehand, don't worry too much about getting it exactly uniform all the way around. That's going to be really tough. There we go. So really straightforward as that. I've got a little dish here that I'll be able to allow to dry and let paint. I'm just going to rub kind of along the edges. Hopefully you can see the clay there is a little bit crackled. So I'm just going to rub it to kind of work some of those cracks together. And again, when I paint it, it's not really going to matter because those should cover up fairly easily. So let's see. I do have one other fun one. If you've got some, now if I wanted to, I've got my toothpicks. If I want to draw any kind of design on the clay, I could do that now. We've actually got some metal little cutters that we have used for clay in the past. So this one's just a tiny little heart, so I'm just going to take another piece. This one I will use my roller with, but because my parchment paper is not held down, I'm going to hold the paper as well as the clay. I'm going to kind of roll out a little bit here. Use my embossing tool. Push my little clay heart out. There we go. Let's do a couple more of those. Use my tool. Push it at the bottom. Two more. There's one and one more. Pushing pretty gently so I don't distort the heart too much. There we go. Got my first one. I've got the other half of my clay here. I'm going to work it back together. This is one I saw a pin on Pinterest, and it was something that I thought I'd like to try. So I'm gonna kind of roll it out, flatten my clay out here. Yeah, go a long way. I want it a little bit wider. There we go. Trying to keep it still pretty good thickness so that when it dries, it's a pretty solid piece. Alright, and for this one, I do just need a big circle. Yeah, up here at the top. Skipping around here. I am going to give him couple of ears there, under the top, couple of ears there. Well, I think you see it. Alright, I'm going to use my embossing tool, come around. Taking out the excess clay around my little outline. You see that the amount of clay that we've provided is really less than a pound, about half a pound. You can really make kind of a lot with it. So I've got 2 dishes here that I'm going to make, and then still have some left over that I'll be able to use to make something else if I wanted to. As long as you put it back into the Ziploc bag and make sure that you're sealing the Ziploc bag, the clay should last a little bit longer. Small pieces, get around the ears here. And once I get the excess clay off, I will clean up my edges here. There we go. Alright. One of my ears got a little funky. So I'm just going to pat down around the edges, kind of reshape my little kitty dish here. Those ears looking. They're looking a little funky on my ears there. I'm going to try and add a little piece back over here. There we go. Now we got a little bit better ears. And the one example I saw really kind of just had the edges pinched up around, but I think I'm going to do something a little different. Since I've got all this extra clay, I'm going to try and roll it out and do an edge laid around the top, like I did sort of for one of my other examples. So again, because of my parchment paper, if you've got some masking tape or painter's tape, you may want to just go ahead and tape the parchment paper down onto your work surface. That way you don't have to worry about it moving as you're trying to work with the clay. I'm just gonna roll this out. And I think I need a little bit more. Moving down slightly as I go. Might be pretty close. Alright. So I am going to bring my little kitty cat back here. There we go. And I'm just laying this at the edge. Bring it around. I'm also pinching as I go, kind of pushing down on the inside to get the clay to connect to my base piece. Bring it around. And I actually had more than I needed. My kitty got a little funky, but that's all right. The clay is still wet, so I can really get in there and shape him to how I want it to look. Kitty tray here. I'm going to flip them over and make sure I am pinching the base piece to the edge so that they don't separate at the end of drying. Alright. I think once I get him painted at the end, I'm going to be able to bring back the kittiness just a little bit more than what it currently looks like. I can see there I need to work those two pieces of the clay together. Use my embossing tool some. Just really push clay down. Oh, and this larger side of the embossing tool gives such a cool little indent. I'm just going to do that all the way around. Almost there. Met up on the other side. Actually, I think in the clay itself, I am going to do my little eyes. So I'm just going to push A little line there. And a little line there. Let's see, on the thinner side. And this looks like a mustache. Up part. Alright, so I've got my kitten here ready to dry. And this is one of those great crafts that we are able to do virtually, that we aren't always able to do in person because of this extended drying time. So, oh kitty, I think I'm gonna give my little top part here, get my ears kind of flexed around. Make sure I'm not. So I've got my 2 pieces. I've even got a little bit of extra clay. And I am going to let these sit for a full 24 hours before I paint them. So we will check back. Okay, so my clay has had a little bit more than 24 hours to dry. I can tell that the clay has definitely changed color. It still feels cool to the touch, but it's definitely hardened, and I am ready to paint. I think I am going to paint my cat first, and I'm going to be a little out there and use some purple. You are welcome to use any paints you may have from other projects or that you just have in your own personal collection. If you would like to paint these with different colors, we just wanted to use some of the paints that we had already from previous crafts this summer. And I'm just really kind of laying on a pretty thin coat of the paint here, and you can see hopefully that this is the one where I used my embossing tool to put the little face on there, so I don't have to worry too much about painting over that because I can really see that in the clay. So I'll be able to, I think I'm going to come back with maybe black and just highlight those areas. And this is the one that I would definitely be doing a gold edge on. And as always, we would love to see in the comments, the Facebook comments on this video, any of your final projects and how they came out, or if you'd like to share them with us on the library Instagram. All right, there's my purple cat. And honestly, I would probably let this paint dry. And then I would get me another brush or clean this brush off. I'm going to paint gold around the edges, and once my purple's a little bit drier, I'll be able to get into these little grooves with the black and really highlight those. And I think that really covers all of the instructional pieces of the video. The rest of this is just your creativity. So I'm going to end it there. I will post a picture in the comments on Facebook of what my final paint job came out. So we hope you enjoyed this craft.